Today, the giants of racing invade the famed Hoosier Mile. But today, it's crush cars, not sprint cars. And monsters, not midgets, pushing it to the limit in the dirt. Coming up next, Girth on the Grid in Indianapolis. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the superstars of the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Nationals Monster Truck Challenge. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today, it's the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals from the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee. This is a track that plays host to the famed Hoosier 100. But today, it's not the USAC Silver Crown dirt cars. These racers today are much larger and much heavier. We have just concluded qualifying, and we have set a 12-truck field. And here with more in the competition is Army Armstrong.
Well, Gary, now that qualifying's over, we're standing down the infield, and I made some observations. First of all, the people from Indianapolis, Indiana, are used to seeing class racing. They're going to see it today. All the brands are going to be represented. I'll tell you what I mean. Chevrolet's quick, Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher. Ford's second quick with Andy Brass driving Bob and Marilyn Chandler's Bigfoot. But we got some other major players here. We got a brand new Dodge called Magnum Force. We got the Barefoot Dodge. They're loading both barrels coming after these guys. The GMC brand is represented by the Tennessee truck, the Equalizer, and David Morris. And then you've got the guy from Parts Unknown, if you will. The Gravedigger qualified for today's show. Tell us about the rest of the lineup, Gary.
Army, the matchups for round one, the Carolina Crusher, the fast qualifier against Overkill, and Barefoot, Fred Schaefer against Magnum Force. Also in round one, Equalizer, David Morris against Scott Stevens and King Crunch, the Gravedigger against Nitemare. Also in the 12-truck round, Snakebite against No Problem, Bigfoot, the second fast qualifier, Andy Brass, against Wayne Smozanik's Tropical Thunder. And there is a look at Equalizer, the GMC, with David Morris on board after a sabbatical. The driver and the trucker back together on the circuit.
Well, the sabbatical is this young man got married. They had a child. He wanted to spend some time at home with his family. I respect David for that. But now he picks up the war paint. He's back on the tour again. And he goes up against a guy out of Texas. The Auto Value sponsor vehicle is Scott Stevens, and Scott has just not been able to put his finger on some transmission problems he's been having all year long.
You say he's from Texas. Actually, he's home now because he's moved his operation to Indianapolis here, about 3 or 4 miles west of the city, actually, in a complex owned by Al Unser Sr.
You're exactly right. The city of Indianapolis is trying to bring people like Scott here. He can go home. We don't have very far to go. Morris is going, however, into the next round, Gary Lee.
Now, Morris crossed over into Scott Stevens' shutdown area.
Okay,
no problem?
No touch, no foul. If they touch each other, yeah, then we got grounds for disqualifications. But if you don't touch the guy, everything's go.
A good look there at Scott Stevens in the middle of the cockpit. Something obviously mechanically wrong with that GMC truck. And there is a look at David Morris. And once again, we'll have a look at the victory.
Okay, Morris is making good run. Stevens just lost his transmission, Gary.
And look at the air, and look how far over David Morris, almost out of control and out of his lane, but he takes the victory, and he is trackside with Army Armstrong.
Gary, David Morris just spotted a problem on the back of the truck. David, can you tell me about it?
Yeah, it's this bar that holds my rear tire straight right here. Somehow the lick that it took on the course just then, it bent it and turned my tires a little bit at the end of the course down there, so I got a little squirrely with me.
You gonna be able to get back? Can you replace it?
Yes, I got a spare bar I can put in.
So some damage, and it's amazing how much work is done between rounds to prepare these trucks, maintain these trucks, the unsung heroes, the other crew members, and quite often the driver himself is doing much of that mechanical work.
Not a whole lot of guys back at the shop in this sport. You carry everything you own in a trailer with you. You're kind of like a turtle. You're a cooter racer here. Speaking of racers, Kirk Dabney comes in. The truck is not new. It's been around for a while. Dabney's been around, but the red light tells you the man from Kill Devil Hill sitting in the other lane.
Well, this is the new race truck for Gravedigger, indicated by that green frame. Lyle Hancock is the driver. This is the Dennis Anderson lookalike. He's a hired gun. He was hired by Dennis to drive the Gravedigger.
I believe that's pure coincidence, because this guy is a monster truck driver. He's out of the Northwest. Anderson knows if he's going to go racing, this is the good guy to put in the seat. And this is why right here. What, Dabney's running him
Oh,
tough.
an upset. You have to call that an upset, as Kirk Dabney out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, knocked out the Gravedigger.
And Kirk Dabney's sponsor, Penda, is right here. If you're going to do good, this is the time to do good. Look at it. He's pumped up.
But this has to be rated as an upset.
Well, you know, now Dabney's a player. He's been around a while. I'm not taking anything away from the Kill Devil Hill gang, but Dabney just thumped them on the starting line and then Maligned it on the other end and flew to the finish.
Well, let's go trackside, Army.
Gary, we're down in the pit area with a guy that's real happy. Hey, man, you just put one of the bad boys away in this sport.
Yeah, Army, we've worked really hard. The Penda-sponsored Nitemare is giving us some problems, but I believe we've got it straightened out for today. We're going to give it 110%.
It's always nice to see a guy break through and do well here. We're in Indianapolis. We're coming back. Stay with us.
Hey, Orlando, want to take it for a spin?
Man, do I?
No. I mean the street version of my Royal Oak Camaro. It's one of the grand prizes in Royal Oak's championship.
Welcome back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds here in Indianapolis, where Ford Trucks present the Penda four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. It's all part of the B.F. Goodrich Performance Series. Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong as we are about to conclude round one competition with the big blue Ford of Bigfoot, Andy Brass in Bigfoot 10 out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he will go up against Wayne Smozanik in Tropical Thunder. And he's come a long way from Jupiter, Florida to be here in the Hoosier State.
Smozanik is running unique suspension. It's a cantilever suspension. The rear shock on the truck is a Custer shock, one of the big shocks we talked about, but it's mounted at about a 45-degree angle. Meanwhile, Bigfoot, he runs what we call a soft suspension, and that seems to be the trick to make the truck land soft in the middle right here. Now they can put the horsepower to the ground. We got a good race.
Oh, a good ride for Smozanik. I mean, he has to be disappointed that he lost to Bigfoot, but still, he gave Andy Brass all Andy could handle.
Yeah, I tell you what, Smozanik will be a player in this sport, just like he was in drag races. Just takes that all-important time in the seat. Andy Brass bumps him on the starting line a little bit, but Smozanik stays cool and tries to go after him in no man's land. Now, you notice the Bigfoot truck has already settled down. Smozanik has one shot. That's to just lay all the cards on the table and fly it.
That suspension system won that race for Andy Brass. The truck settled down. He got the horsepower back onto the ground. Young fan holding the ears. Noisy round two coming up. Carolina Crusher will go up against Barefoot. Also in second round competition, the Equalizer, after knocking out King Crunch, will take on Nitemare, victorious over the Gravedigger. And continuing on, Snakebite Colt Cobra will match up against Bigfoot and Andy Brass, all part of the 12-truck event here at the State Fairgrounds.